Welcome to the Birth of Reason. Thank you all for being here. For those of you who are here for the first time, there are 15 of these shows. A series of artwork called the World Series was created, I thought, as a small series. I started this in 1995. And at that time, I just thought I'd show them at universities to have conversations around the issues that were happening on the planet. Well, since that time, I thought, oh, if I put them all together in a movie, then people could come to the film as a documentary film, and they would feel as if they had learned a lot about the Earth. At that time, there were maybe 10 or 12 of them, and I kept showing them in universities and other places. And finally, here we are. We're doing a YouTube channel on each one of them. 15. I can't believe it. This is not like my end. This is just the beginning. Artists never die. They just keep going. And so that all being said, let me tell you about this piece. This is about terrorism. I remember fighting my mother and saying, no, we have to end it. And my mother would quote from Shakespeare or the Bible and would say, man's inhumanity to man makes millions weep. Never more so than on September 11th. In New York City. That's what this piece is about. It is made up of two towers. They're looking at one another. Two pieces of wood make the outer, and then in front, wired glass that couldn't shatter when you were in the shower in 1970 to the fronts. And inside are copper tubing with lights expanding through them and shards of mirror along the inside of the towers. And when they are lit, they look like flames going up the sides inside. Between the towers, there is a net. The net is holding the earth. It literally precariously lives between two nails, a net, and the earth, which could fall off at any moment. At the bottom of the towers, on the base, a pile of papers you can open and read. And there's every name of every human being that died in the towers that day, and that died in the Pentagon, and that died on that day in a moment of terror. Almost 4,000 people died that day. If you walk around the piece, the sides and back are in full-length mirrors. So as you walk behind it, you're reflected in it. Because like all of my sculptures, you too could be there. You too could have lost someone. And many that are watching did. And what does that mean to the psyche of an entire nation? It changed everything. So terrorism isn't the moment that it happens, it's the evolution of what happens following that terrorism. The final piece of the sculpture is a 4x4 glass brick with a metal top. And I have mentioned my husband a couple of times in this show. He truly does have great patience and love for me and puts up with a lot of my crap. And he went to New York 6 weeks after the towers went down. And I asked one of the guys that was working on the cleanup if he would give me a bag of the ashes from Ground Zero. And he said, why? What do you need it for, lady? His name was Anthony. Anthony, what do you need it for? And I said, I'm an artist, and I'm making a sculpture about this experience, and I need the ashes. He says, bodies are in it. I said, I know. And he says, and we're all going to die from it. And I said, I hope not, but I know. And he says, okay, if you're going to use it for that, y'all get it. And he gave me a Ziploc bag of the ashes. So in many of my sculptures, there is a physical form of the issue, whether it be blood in the rivers between the warriors or ashes from those towers in the piece. When I speak through art, words do not have to be said. I'm explaining every one of my pieces, and obviously I didn't make them so I could explain them. But if you're not literally looking at them, you're only seeing a photograph, you're not going to get the nuances, so you won't necessarily know. So that's why I'm telling you. But hopefully the emotional experience of this, while I'm telling it to you, reflects in seeing the piece. I hope that all of you understand that each one of these pieces is relevant to each one of the people that it's relevant to, and to some of you, not relevant at all. And that's okay. There's no guilt or shame or expectations of any of this. It's just a conversation. I've learned a lot in the past couple of years. I've had a number of people ill and a number of people die. And what I worked out in that whole period, it's not what happens to you. It's how you deal with what happens to you. It's not what's going on in the world around you. It's how you deal with you inside, how you deal with your emotions, your understanding, your kindness, your love, yourself. Throughout all of these sculptures that I have brought to you, through all of the 30 years of work, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I didn't know that I was making one piece and that 30 years later I was going to be doing this. But what I do know is that it's not what happens to you. It's what you do for you. We need to care for ourselves to be able to care for the world. We need to speak our truth. Every piece that I have brought to you in this show, the reason I did them was not for this outcome. But when I saw them all together, when I brought them out from their hiding place, I realized that this is my life's work. And this work is to motivate, excite, and create a movement of conscious, loving, peaceful human beings that want to see the world as a better place. So I ask all of you to join us in a movement of the birth of reason. Thank you all for being with me. And you know what? I'm going to end with this one thing. I showed this show once. There were only 10 pieces. It was in my hometown, and I had a book out. And I thought, oh, I'm doing such a good job. I'm so proud of myself. I'm doing all this piecework. I'm doing all of this. And one person wrote in that book, those who work for peace are a bunch of crackpot liberals who all should die. So I know some of you that are watching feel that way. But the thing about art, it's to get a reaction and to hear what you need to hear from you. Those who are saying that about me need to look inside. Love, peace, and harmony to everyone. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Belle Hahn, and welcome back to The Birth of Reason. And Judi's piece is all about the 9/11 Twin Towers. And I think that anybody alive at that time goes right back to the moment that they found out. Where was I in that moment when the world truly felt like it fell apart? And I remember being called into this chapel that was a non-denominational chapel. And to imagine a space that someone felt safe in that could automatically be taken out in a moment's notice through fear, hatred, could truly happen to anybody on the planet at any moment. That level of fear that I witnessed in my fellow students was really unnerving. Clearly affected all of us eternally after that with travel. It's not just about this moment, it's about the evolution of terrorism and the build up to this moment. When the world, as she said, is hanging between this concept of hatred and fear and also hanging by a net, is it gonna all fall apart again? Or are we going to make a different choice this time? Are we gonna come together to talk about this and have difficult conversations, which also feel good, even if they're heavy, to actually process what has happened and is happening currently on our planet? And these crimes have destroyed many more lives than the names that are written on the paper at the bottom of her sculpture or the ashes that she's collected. It's actually about the collective now. And it's affected my children who know about it and so many others based on, again, the act of hatred instead of choosing love. So whatever we need to do now to move forward to make that other choice is the conversation I am so interested in having. Thank you for the space to listen, and I can't wait to hear what you're feeling.